Okay, so I wanted to pop on here today to talk about a concept that I find very peculiar, I guess. It interests me that most of us, in my opinion, at least people that I talk to, whether you call it praying or manifesting, we do believe in some sort of law of attraction. Whatever we think about, we bring about. What you get what you ask for, you get what you pray for, you get what you think about. All this, this is all the same concept. And so I find it very interesting that sometimes we say, I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to jinx it. I'm not going to tell you about it until after it happens because I don't want to jinx it. Are we jinxing or are we manifesting? I'm confused. Because to me, if you're going to talk about it, that means that you're going to think about it and you're going to bring it about. If you're worried about jinxing it, you're keeping it in your head and you're worried about it not happening for you or it not coming true in the way that you want it to. And so when we're doing that, we're worrying. And when you're worrying, you're focusing on scarcity, on lack, on not enough, on it not turning out, on not getting what you want, on the negative side of it. What you're scared of, what you're afraid of, what you don't want to see happen. And so I just find it very, very interesting that we still remain stuck in this paradoxical kind of understanding of manifesting versus jinxing. I would challenge anybody, if you are one of those people that think that you're going to jinx something by talking about it, to look at it in a different way. What if you're talking about it and that means, again, that you're thinking about it, you're spreading the word, you're bringing more energy to that idea, to that energy coming true for you. So I understand that we don't want to, there's certain situations, like maybe pregnancies or something. You don't want to tell people about it because you don't want to have to deal with, if it didn't work out, what would be the repercussion? Would you have to go back and now tell all these people what happened? And so what? So what if you do? So what if it is something like that where it's a pregnancy and it didn't turn out or it didn't work out, or it ended abruptly and not the way that you intended it to be? Don't you think that if you told people about it beforehand, before the event that you didn't want to see happened, and if then again in the future somebody asks you about it and you're able to tell them what happened, the unfortunate thing that happened, don't you think that you would be getting support in that moment? I highly doubt anybody would ostracize you for losing out on something like that, or replace that with anything, really. I doubt, and if they do, if people do ostracize you, or for lack of a better word, shit on you for not getting what you want, shouldn't that tell you that those aren't the kind of people that you don't want in your life? Aren't they doing you a favor? I'm a big believer in seeing the solution in everything, and that takes practice and hopeful practice. And some people might say, call it daydreaming or thinking positively, or manifesting, whatever you want to put there. It all kind of means the same thing. It's you putting that intentional thought out towards what you want to see happen. And so I just find it kind of peculiar that we're stuck in this realm of I've got to see it to believe it. I would challenge you to say that you got to believe it to see it. If you don't believe that it can happen, you're never going to see that it's actually happening, because it's always happening. Everything is happening right now. I won't get caught up in that understanding, but yeah. And so when I was thinking about this, something kind of came to mind, and it's called the law of paradoxical intent. And that reads, well, the idea of manifesting, right, is what you whatever you focus your intention on, you get more of. And so the law of paradoxical intent is that you can get what you want by knowing that you don't need it to be happy. Ultimately, practicing gratitude for where you're at right now with everything that you've got, understanding that it's not everything that you really want per se, but you're on your way if you've got things going on that are going your way, and they don't even have to have anything to do with whatever else it is you're trying to manifest. But if we're not thinking about what we want, we're ultimately thinking about or worried about what we don't want. And you have to decide consciously and intentionally what you're going to put your energy towards. Are you going to worry that things aren't going to work out, or that this person's not going to call, or that you're not going to get that job, or that it's not going to work out the way you want it to, or that your plans are going to fall through, or this person's going to flake out, or anything that you don't want to see? Obviously the concern can be there because anything can happen at any time. But you've got to ask yourself, are you training yourself to pay attention to the things that you don't want to see happen, because you in your mind might be saying, well, I've got to be prepared for these things because they are going to happen, because you've experienced them happening time and time again. But maybe it's because you haven't put enough intentional energy and thought into believing that it actually can work out for you, and that it will work out, and that what you want to see happen will happen. It's wishful thinking, sure, but I'd rather be daydreaming about things that I'd like to see happen in my life rather than worrying about what I don't want to see happen in my life, because again, what you think about, you bring about, and there's no sense in worrying about something that's not actually happening. You'll deal with it when it comes to you. But if you think for a moment that you're preparing yourself for when the other shoe drops, well, in a sense, you're right, because the other shoe will drop because you're waiting for it. You're anticipating it. You're calling it to action. You are manifesting that other shoe to drop. And then you can kind of, subconsciously pat yourself on the back for being right, even though it's not what you wanted to be right about. But we then start to train ourselves to be in this victim mentality of, oh, of course that would happen to me. Why would I ever get what I want? I always get the shit end of the stick. Everything bad always happens. Of course this would be like this. Why else would it be any other way? Well, have you thought about it in any other way yet? Other than the way that you don't want to see things happen? If you haven't, I would challenge you to do just that. Whatever you focus on, you'll get more of. So I wrote, I'm looking down at my notes here a little bit. Scarcity versus abundance. If you're one of those that are constantly afraid of not having enough, whether that be money, love, comfort, anything, insert what you want here, and you're believing that it can get taken away, or that there's just not going to be enough of it because everybody else is in line first and in front of you, and there's not going to be anything left for you, well, that's exactly what's going to turn out for you, as far as or versus abundance. I already have a lot of things that I'm grateful for. And then you can start naming those things. Gratitude is a very high vibrational frequency. And when we practice gratitude for the things that we already have, or things that are going our way, or things that are working out well, or things that we have in our lives that we can count as blessings, we'll start to see more of those things. It's pretty amazing when you make a gratitude list how many things you can start to list. It almost becomes overwhelming at a point. And so, that's just something to think about, that you can either worry that it's not going to happen, or you can anticipate that it is going to happen. Either way, one of those two things is going to happen. And prepare your mind for what it's going to be like when it's happening, or when you're getting what you want. So many times, I hear people tell me what they don't want. Well, I don't want this, and I don't want this, and I don't want to be here, and I don't want this job, and I don't want to see this. And then I ask them, well, what do you want? What is going to make you happy? What will be going on when you have everything that you hoped for? How will you feel? Who will be involved? Who's going to be a part of your life? Where will you be? What will you be doing when everything is working out the way that you want it to be working out? And that's actually very difficult for people to answer because they have not put enough thought into that idea. They've been so worried about navigating these parameters of things that they don't want to see happen. That's all they keep running into. When you create your boundaries or your walls of thought on things that you don't want to see there, understand that you constructed those walls with your own thought and intention. And they're made of everything that you don't want to see. So we keep bumping into them and trying to run the opposite way, only to run into another wall because we haven't stopped and actually thought intentionally about where we're going or where we want to be going or what it's going to feel like when we're on our way. It's a bit of a daydreaming process, and as an adult in an adult world, it's difficult to daydream. We're taught, that's child's play. Grow up, we hear it a lot. We don't have time to think about these things. The real world is happening now. And we kind of paint this real world to be a picture of, like almost like a tease. Like you can get what you want, but nope, no, you can't, because the adult world is here and this is what we're living in. This is reality, and nobody ever gets all that they want. Challenge that assumption. Be mindful about the feelings in which you are in when you're asking for what you want. Are you in a feeling of desperation when you're trying to finally teach yourself to seek out what you want? If we're in that feeling, we're already thinking, oh shit, this isn't going to happen the way that I want it to, but please, I'll do anything. In treatment, we used to call those foxhole prayers. If you do this, then I will do this. If you give me this, then I'll never do this again. That sense of desperation is also an energy, with a frequency. And so when you're sending out two contradicting things, a desperate solution, you're going to probably get an answer that you didn't intend to get or that you don't think is the right answer. And so then we'll start to write it off and say, no, that's too dramatic. That can't quite be the solution to this. There's got to be something easier. There's got to be something less complex. But if you are standing in a web of worries and boundaries, created with ill intent, understand that you're gonna feel stuck and you're gonna kind of hope for something big and grand to pull you out of there, because that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. We're in a desperate place where we need a miracle. I would challenge you again, if you feel like you're in that sense, that small miracles happen all the time, every single day, and we don't have to pay attention to them or even be aware of them for them to be happening. But if we choose to pay attention to them, we can ultimately train ourselves to find more of these small miracles in everything that we're doing and everything that's happening around us every day. I'm just kind of thinking of like the sun rising and setting. It happens every day. And we don't have to think about it for it to happen. We don't even have to be grateful that it did happen for it to happen. It just happens. And this is the same thing. We can train ourselves to kind of be naturalistic in our approach of getting what we want. If we train ourselves to think about what we want to see happen and we start to daydream about what it's going to feel like when we're getting what we want and when things are working out the way we hope they would, and you start picturing, who's going to be in your life and what's going to be going on, you're going to be able to see that that's already happening for you. And if you continue to tune into those little frequencies, it will grow. It will get louder in your life. Just the same as focusing on the negatives and the scarcity of the situation and not getting what you want. Those things ultimately grow bigger when we're, worried about them, because when you're worried about them, consider how much thought and energy you're putting into not getting what you want because you're worried about it. Daydream, yes, I talked about that. Daydreaming is huge. Ultimately, that's manifesting when you're just letting your mind wander into considering what it is that you'd like to be seeing in your life, whether it's a person or an event or a feeling that you want to call upon or see more of in your life. Daydream about that. What's going to be going on when those things are happening for you? Because when we're not thinking about that, we're never going to be able to recognize that it's already happening, or that it's being presented to us. And that's when life gets a little bit tougher, when we are doubting that the solution is right in front of us. It's kind of like we're like blindly saying like, no, like it's got to be something else. Like it's right in front of you. Just open your eyes and consider that it's not exactly what you thought it was going to look like or feel like, but if it's something different and contrasting to the feelings that you don't want to be experiencing or the event that you don't want to see happen, consider that that's the small step on the path to getting where you want. You're not just supposed to jump from where you are to everything that you want. Everything big is built up of something small. Days do not happen hours at a time. They happen seconds at a time. Years don't happen months at a time. They happen days at a time. So everything big can be broken down into something small. But if you're looking at major events or major big feeling changes or relationship changes, you're gonna miss the small steps that are taking you, that are happening on your way to get to where you want to be going. Do fears and yeah buts rise to the surface? So, I hear a lot of people, yeah, but this and yeah, but that, and I want to do this, yeah, but, and it's just, I call them yeah butters, and it doesn't really do anything for you except expand your Rolodex of excuses. And so whenever fear rises up about something that you want to see happen, we call on this Rolodex of excuses to bring us back down to reality. We start to rationalize and justify why we can't get what we want because, well, yeah, but this, and yeah, but that. And so if you're going to be trying to manifest from a fear-based standpoint, the energy you're going to get back is going to be very intense, and it might be a fearful solution, something that you're really afraid of doing. And if that's the case, walk through the door, because you're already living in fear. So what's the harm in accepting a little bit more if it can provide a solution and maybe some relief from the negative fear that you're experiencing? There is a kind of a good fear. I'm just thinking of like, having a baby or maybe like getting married or getting into a new relationship or going on a vacation, flying or something like that. All these things are, seemingly good things, but there is sort of a fear attached to them about, the experience, the feelings, the emotions that are going to come up, everything. And also what might not happen, might not work out for us. So just ask yourself which thought you want to entertain more, and do just that. Train your mind to stay there. It's not going to be easy. If you trained your mind to worry and be anxious, you've probably been doing that for a while. And so it didn't happen overnight that we became all, this anxiety-ridden or fearful kind of person. We've trained ourselves to be that way. And so you can train yourself to be a different way. It's just not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be this leap from where you are to where you want to be overnight or in one conversation or quickly, really. You have to start to pay attention to all of the little things that make up the big thing that you're going after. Blessings in disguise. That's a big one. There's always these blessings in disguise that we experience, and that's what I talk about, or that's what I mean when I talk about, finding the solution in the problem. If you see it as a problem, it's going to be a problem. If you see it as an alternative solution, then that's exactly what it's going to be. Everything is a blessing in disguise. Everything that doesn't work out for us is a blessing in disguise. all the way down to, I remember one time it hit me, was walking outside and I stubbed my toe on the edge of this concrete brick, and immediately I was kind of like jumping up and down, and then I looked down and all I could do was say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for not being worse. My toenail was still intact. I didn't break my toe. It wasn't even bleeding. It just hurt. And so it could have been so much worse. But the pain went away like pretty much almost immediately once I started being thankful that it was only a brush of pain rather than a broken toe or a ripped off toenail, if that made sense to you guys. So, you know, blessings in disguise are a really big thing. And if we train ourselves to see these problems as blessings, that's exactly what they're going to turn out to be. These things that don't work out for us are allowing something else to work out for us. I know you guys have probably heard it. If you've ever been broken up with or lost a job, you know, one door closes and another one opens. That's exactly the premise of a blessing in disguise. So train yourself to focus on those things and not get so caught up in what you thought was going to happen but isn't actually happening. Because while you're staying stuck in that, you know, past content, you're not focusing on where you're going. You're not looking ahead. You're not thinking about, okay, where am I going to go from here? Because that clearly steered me in a different direction, and now I need to make sure that I know where I'm going. So look ahead, look straight, look up. Don't look back. Sometimes, but we'll get to that in another video. Wow, 21 minutes. Are you worthy of receiving what you're asking for? And how much do you really believe yourself? That's a big thing. A lot of us self-deprecate and don't really feel like we deserve to get everything we're asking for, or it's just hopeful or wishful thinking, but it's not actually going to happen because I don't deserve to be happy. I don't deserve a healthy relationship. You know, self-sabotage comes and is once again your best friend, and we just start to have this self-deprecating conversation with ourselves in our head, talking ourselves out of believing that we can get what we want, or that things can work out for us, because they actually can, but you just have to believe it. You can't expect these things to just fall into your lap when you're not believing that once it does, that that's actually the thing that you were hoping for. It's probably not going to look anything like you thought it was going to. And that's the, to me, like the work, the trick of being able to be happy is being able to reframe your mind to consider, okay, well, you know, it's taking me this way, but I'm still on my way. It doesn't mean that it wasn't for you or that you should just quit and turn around and abort mission. It just means that the universe is challenging you to expand your perception of what you're looking at. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Avoid diving into the details. Focus on what will be happening when you're where you want to be. Feel it. Who's there? Yeah, so many times. And that's where the yeah buts come in. When we start to get too detail oriented with, you know, where we want to be going. It's fine to daydream in details and lose yourself in that. But when it actually comes time to getting real with what you've got in front of you right now, try not to be so detail oriented, for lack of a better word. I mean, when we start to, well, yeah, this is happening, but this person's not involved, so it's definitely not what I wanted. Is it not, or is it? You can't have this paradoxical idea of what you want, but it's not down to the finite details of it. Nothing's ever gonna be like that. So challenge yourself to get out of that anxiety-ridden, detail-oriented mindset where it has to be, you know, A, then B, then C, then D. Why not A, E, Z, F, Q? Like, why not all over the place, but it's still on, you know, we're still talking about the alphabet. Yeah, details will kill your wishful thinking. I probably have something more profound to say about that if I wrote about it, but for lack of better terms, that's where I'm at right now. If you can't picture it, how will you know when it's happening? I talked about this in the beginning of the video when I talked to people about, okay, I heard everything that you don't want, but what do you want? And it's very difficult for them to consider, well, I don't know. I just don't want to be here. I don't know what I want. I know it. I don't want it to be this. Well, that's a little vague. You're going to have to get a little bit more specific or intentional, really. I don't want to say specific, but definitely more intentional with, you know, what you want to see happen, because you're not going to be able to see it if you don't know what to believe about it. Shift from desperate to peaceful pursuit. Understand that everything is happening for us, not to us. And so once we kind of shift our perspective in that sense, it's pretty amazing how much your energy shifts, how much your thought shifts, how much the people around you shift, and becoming more in concordance with being grateful and okay with the process that you're in right now. You allow yourself to really trust the process when we shift from desperate to a peaceful pursuit, because we can understand that it doesn't have to happen right now, it doesn't have to happen tomorrow, and it doesn't have to happen next week. I can understand that all is happening right now for me to get where I'd like to be going. And if I'm not going to choose to believe that, then I'm going to be desperately seeking a way out of where I am right now. And I know a lot of people that I used to counsel do geographical changes. You know, oh, this must be, you know, I can't be here. This isn't working out in my favor. So I'm going to up and move, or I'm going to get away from this person. And, you know, I'm just going to change my location, geographical change. And then I'll be able to start over anew. Nobody will know me, and I can build the life I want. You take you with you wherever you go. So if you think for 1 second that catapulting yourself out of your situation that you're in right now with desperate intentions to find something new, but still with the same worried mindset, it's gonna catch up with you sooner or later. It might not be for a couple years, but it's definitely going to catch up with you, because you take you with you wherever you go. So we have to begin to understand that our own thoughts and behaviors are creating our reality. And so if you haven't changed your mind, and you've only changed your location, or you've changed your partner, or you changed your job, and you still have the same mindset and the same thinking patterns, everything will end up looking the same in a different context, with different people, in a different environment, etc. Key principle is gratitude. Remain grateful for everything that you've got, everything that's working out or not working out, every thought that you have, every person in your life, every valuable, whatever those things are to you, and, you know, for just being alive and having the opportunity to have this experience, this humanoid experience, that we get to test out our powers daily by experimenting with our thoughts and our intentions and our energy. I'm going to stop it here.